What is up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Sonic the Hedgehog here, and I'm back for some more yet again for the likes of the Moxie Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom for the PlayStation 2, Nintendo GameCube, and Xbox specific consoles. So, last time we have managed to able to continuously exploring around in Sand Mountain, and also we managed to kick out the likes out of the forms of Robo Patrick of all things, as in the forms of an industrial park environment. And today, we're about to begin the forms of going back into the previous worlds as in before. Because of that though, we're about to be collecting the last few pairs of socks for Patrick, and same applies to those remaining golden spatulas that we haven't got during the forms of in the first run. So as a result, as you can tell, this is going to be the post commentary, because as a result, I'm also able to actually just to show you guys some of those socks I was missing throughout the forms of the first part of the forms of this entire, well, playthrough and stuff like that, or to be more specifically, the first runs in Journey forms have been the previous worlds that we've already technically done. And after all, since we actually got ourselves all of those abilities for, you know, SpongeBob now, meaning about the fact that we can now able to actually use, you know, the bubble ball and as well as the bubble missile abilities, so that way we can able to do more things in the previous worlds. Take like Jellyfish Fields for example, that normally we were going to be able to actually grab those remaining socks as we can able to proceed to the game, but turns out we need to get ourselves two of those abilities based off from what the boss fights that we actually did manage to kick the likes out of it. Like for instance that, you know how the fact that if you do manage to defeat, you know, Robo Sandy, then you get yourselves the actual the bubble bowl ability, and also as you saw from the likes of the last video, that to get the bubble missile ability is the fact that we need to able to just, well, destroy Robo Patrick in Industrial Park. So, and once you have accomplished all that stuff though, then you would able to actually access to all of those, you know, two remaining abilities for SpongeBob, so that way you can now able to do more things here and there. Such as, for instance, you know, with that particular sock I did manage to got since the very beginning of this world in Jellyfish Fields, that in order to able to get Patrick's sock on that particular segment, we must be sure we need to utilize the actual bubble ball until you're able to actually achieve a strike or something, because if you achieve a strike, then you would able to get yourselves a sock. And same applies to the forms of the actual another sock I was about to be finding, and that was the fact that if you try to able to stand on this little foot pedestal kind of switch, and then you have to utilize the actual bubble missile ability, so that way you can able to, you know, deal with all the tikis and stuff like that, and that's as far as we can able to think about this for the time being. And as a result, we've only just got about one more sock left, and thankfully, kind of think about it, it was actually on the cave section, only be accessed with Patrick and all that stuff, because again, he is the only one who can able to actually just to carry a lot of fruit, and especially noticeable how the fact that he can able to grab onto ledges and stuff like that, which is obviously a great feature for Patrick. So as a result, speaking of which, as you can see, we've now managed to get ourselves the, well, all of these socks, and pretty much 100% everything in the forms of Jellyfish Fields. So now we'll go ahead and leave, and of course you can able to actually utilize the actual mission selection screen on the pausing screen, so that way you can able to teleport to a different part throughout the missions themselves, and depending on what worlds you're going to be entering into, then that way you can able to actually instantly just go into the next part, like super instant. So it's a great feature, and I really do appreciate about that specific stuff. I kind of wish they'd be able to, well, I don't know how do I think about this for the time being for this point, folks, but I digress. So if you think so want to point things out, although I'll explain more about this until later, because as a result, the next world we're going to be revisiting too is the fact that we're going back into downtown Bikini Bottom, and because of that, we need to grab the two remaining socks. Now the first sock I actually did miss. It was actually at the start of the forms of the actual rooftop section, so even then though, and I was in the wrong mission, so I must admit though, I do apologize for that. So yeah, as a result, you're going to have to able to you know, what knowing of what mission you're about to be instantly transported into different parts throughout. So yeah, as you can see, we now ended up on the rooftop section on downtown Bikini Bottom, but thankfully there's actually that little teleport boxes just almost right near to the start of that particular segment. That way you can able to actually switch over to SpongeBob, because I say need to switch to SpongeBob on this next pair of sock. That is because of how the fact that he's the only one who can able to ground pound the actual switches. So because of that, unlike Sandy, that she doesn't do the forms of pressing all these switches. So as a result, only SpongeBob, he's the only one who can able to do it. Because of that though, you probably able to actually guarantee to able to obtain the next Patrick sock. So even then though, if you see that little trampoline here, and that way you can get not only tons of more shiny objects as you see there, but also get this, another sock that's usually in here. And the final sock is actually going to be on this particular mission, and it's a good thing we've now actually access to the, you know, the bubble missile ability, so that way we can able to, well, in addition to able to get ourselves the final Patrick sock, but also get ourselves our final golden spatula. I think to get both of them, you can either just, well, utilize either or just choose either SpongeBob or Sandy in order to able to actually get that golden spatula. But to get a sock on the other hand though, I think Sandy, she's the only one she can able to do this. So yeah, you have to utilize the bubble missile right here, and that way you'll create a nice little platform there, and that way we need to hit back and then just hop onto that platform, and you should be able to get yourselves a golden spatula in time. But that doesn't end off here, because again, as I said this before, there's going to be the final sock in Journey Forms of this world, so we can expect we can able to actually just to grab that as well. So not much else I can really think about this for the time's sake, apart from the fact that, well, today, I think today's day, actually, is the forms of, the 24th of, June today, in Wednesday. And of course, recently, yesterday, recently, the remake of this game just recently came out yesterday for both the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and of course the Nintendo Switch, and even PC Steam versions, which just recently came out yesterday. And let me tell you, I'm actually really enjoying this so far. Especially noticeable how the fact that we can able to actually play on the go, as I said before, on the Switch version, and obtaining some more trophies in the PS4 version to top it all off as well. So even then, I'm very happy to able to actually got both of those versions throughout the whole entire thing. Especially noticeable also is the fact that recently yesterday, that the Sonic the Hedgehog, as far as the first game in the series on the Mega Drive / Sega Genesis, well, happy 29th birthday in terms of the Sonic the Hedgehog game, as well as, well, for myself basically. So as a result, we only got about 1 year left until we reach over to about 30 years of the Sonic the Hedgehog's 30th anniversary department, which it will be on pretty much guaranteed to be in forms of on the, well, in 2021, which can be same applies to, you know, certain films has been delayed and stuff like that, and also same applies to the, you know, with the 1991 film, Beauty and the Beast, that particular film will be 30 years old until next year, which I can't even believe. Time itself just went flying, like, seriously, what's, I don't know, I just get a little bit sidetracked for this point. So anyways, we're about to be revisiting back to Goo Lagoon once again, and because of that, well, I was attempting to show you guys the proper method for able to actually just to do this, you know, connect the towers mission, which I found a little bit of a difficult task in my opinion. But there's also an easy way to able to do this mission properly, or the easiest way to do this is that you have to utilize the bubble missile and lock on into its robot, and that's all you have to do here. And because of that though, once you achieve that, rather than doing for this entire ordeal, then that way you can able to actually just to guarantee, you know, guarantee to get yourselves the final golden spatula for, you know, Larry. In this case, Larry the Lobster. So that way we can able to actually just get ourselves, what else? The golden spatula.
Congratulations, SpongeBob! You're king of the beach! Here, have a golden spatula!
And I do apologize with the forms of the lack of commentary for that particular dialogue right there. This is probably because I just want to clearly hear what he was trying to say. Especially noticeable how the fact that this is still post-commentary, so as a result of that kinds of stuff though, there's not much else I can talk about apart from the fact that we're pretty much almost at the end of June already. And yes, I just want to point things out right away, spoiler warning for those of you who want to know when this Let's Play will be finished. It will not be over until likely until the rest of the summer or something. Specifically, either July or August sometime. If only if depending on the forms of other Let's Plays we're about to be going ahead and just, you know, focus on, or even especially noticeable for planned, and all the other jazz as you probably guys should already know. So as a result, that's all I can say about it here. So now we got ourselves all of those golden spatulas in terms of, specifically, in the forms of Goo Lagoon. And now we need to go ahead and get ourselves the 2 remaining socks, which, one of them is actually in the ice rig part, which, I'm really hoping I can able to find that correctly. And, speaking of which, yeah, there's the actual sock right there. And thankfully, if you somehow manage to get close into one of those socks, thankfully, the actual, the collectathon kind of hit detection just sort of does it for you. So even then, there's a really great way that you can able to actually touch it from there. So that seems pretty cool all in all. Especially noticeable how the fact that, well, it just makes things a little bit, I don't know, what do I say this for this point right now. And I suppose the 9th and the final sock in this world, which appears to be on the, well, the actual, the pier part, which, it's nothing to do with the forms of, the SpongeBob's new ability, which is the, of course, the bubble ball, but instead we need to use Patrick for able to deal with the forms of a Wakatiki kind of, minigame. And as a result, you only got about 30 seconds to able to destroy them, and as a result, if you manage to accomplish that, then you should be able to be rewarded with the next sock, as you can probably guarantee what the next reward is going to be. So yeah, if you do manage to dish out as many of those tikis as you can see here, and as soon as you deal with this last one, and you should be able to get yourselves the, of course, the actual final sock. And before we leave the world, there's going to be this little one last thing before I show off in terms of the forms of this world itself. And that's what appears to be buddy forms of how the fact that, well, there's actually a way that you can able to actually only use SpongeBob in that particular segment. And you know, with the fact that, well, since we actually got ourselves the actual, the bubble ball kind of ability, even though it's entirely optional, unless if you really want to farm some more of those, you know, some more of those, you know, shiny objects, as you can tell. But even then, I will point it out whenever we get into that. And I apologize for what's going on in the background, because once again, Mario just somehow just, you know, doing a lot of plumbing stuff as you expected. Like, you know, just trying to fix up some more of those, particular, patio kind of tiles, as you can tell. Even though, despite the fact that he's actually going to be able to doing a lot of plumbing recently during the forms of in the past few weeks or so. Especially noticeable how the fact that we're actually doing pretty good actually if we're able to go out in places and stuff. Especially noticeable is better than, let's just say, in March and April this year. Just because in April specifically, I think I have to say for this point right about now, in between the forms of 2020 and stuff like that, April is by far one of the worst months I've ever experienced in this year. Most notably because, well, obviously from number one, that the coronavirus thing has been expanded, and two, is the fact that there's not much else going for it, and that's as far as I can say. So even then though, thankfully in May and onwards, hopefully, it'll make things a little bit more of a improvement over the likes of how it does it from before, so you can probably get the idea. So as you can see right there, we need to use the SpongeBob's, you know, bubble ball, so that way you can able to actually adjust your distance to able to actually just get the ball into its holes, and then once you're able to actually do that, you'll be rewarded with several of those shiny objects, even though I've only got 10 of those so far, which is not that much. But thankfully it's entirely optional if you really want to farm some more of those, you know, shiny objects, if you really want to grab them. But it's not my cup of tea or anything like that, so, but then again, that particular segment is actually ignored. Thankfully, it's not the one of those, you know, rewards for collectibles if you're trying to accomplish something like this. Like, for instance, that there was no, magic sock to be rewarded if you manage to accomplish certain things like this. Especially noticeable with the golden spatula, because if that would be the case, it would be really random in luck. So, yeah, it's for the sake of the forms of that specific distraction. So yeah, as a result, yeah, we are basically done with every single part in Goo Lagoon. The only world we're probably not going to go back into again is Mermaid Lair, because we've already just managed to collect not only the every single golden spatulas, but also the same applies to those Patrick socks, which I think out of all the worlds in this game, I think Mermaid Lair does manage to have themselves the lesser amount of those pairs of socks. Specifically, well, I would say for the next world as well, but we'll save that until likely for the future. Specifically, God knows in July or August sometime, but then again, we'll have to wait and see whenever that time comes. So, but either way though, now let's go ahead and move on back into Rock Bottom. Now, for the most part, we actually got every single golden spatulas on that world, all except for one sock remaining, and that, hopefully I'll might as well find you guys about the fact that for those of you ever first time playing this game, especially recently, if you ever played the remake version of this game for the first time, then you can able to follow the actual guide to able to actually find out where these collectibles are. So yeah, in this part right there, almost right near to the museum itself, that way you can able to find the last pair of sock in terms of Rock Bottom. So even then though, that's all I could really think about it, and let's head back on to the beginning portion of this for the sake of this world, and hopefully we're moving on back into Sand Mountain for the final time, and because of that, we're about to go ahead and get ourselves the next few, well, let's say the final two, Patrick sock, which, I know there's definitely a way you can able to actually just get some more shiny objects if I was going to do those off screen. However, I'm not going to do that just yet though, because I'll save that whenever we manage to completely done with every single worlds in this game offers us to, exception of being the final part in this particular game, specifically in the chunk bucket segment, which I'll again talk more about it until later, because as a result of that kinds of stuff though, there's not much else I can talk about apart from the fact that, well, you know, Sonic the Hedgehog has been out for about, well, for the Mega Drive / Sega Genesis, well, for those of you who lived in North America, for that particular point, it's now becoming 29 years old, which, you know, still, I can't even believe time itself is when flying. So yeah, anyway, we're now back on to Sand Mountain, as you can see there, and because of that, we need to find the final two of those, well, socks, basically. Even though since we already did manage to found, I would say 8 of them so far. Well, I haven't exactly just managed to lost count on that specific stuff, but either way though. But again, if you really want to make things a little bit easier for yourself, best recommendation is to just switch over to Sandy whenever you're able to approach into one. And that way you would be able to actually just to classify for getting yourselves, you know, the final sock in the forms of in Sand Mountain. And, yeah, that's as far as I can say about this. Again, I must admit though for this point guys, there's not much else I can say apart from the fact that, well, this is going to be post-commentary and stuff like that. It's just the fact of the matter is that this will be the only time we're going to be doing post-commentary for the sake of this Let's Play. This is pretty obvious because until whenever we get into close towards the end of this Let's Play, then we would be able to actually just, well, not only just to do a proper normal commentary, but also, if we're about to be doing some, grinding for more of those shiny objects, I'm also able to actually do those off screen. Because of that though, I just don't feel like trying to able to go through you know, this entire grinding kind of segment, which as a result I might show that just once, but after we're done with that though, whenever we're able to actually get ourselves the next few remaining golden spatulas in the future, specifically the majority of the time it will be specifically Mr. Krabs kind of missions, because as a result, we have to get the most insane amount of them. Although the only thing is though, is the fact that whenever we move on to the next few worlds coming up, that we still need able to spend on, you know, shiny objects in order to progress into any forms of next objectives or anything like that, which it seems pretty obvious when it comes to collectathons, as you know. So yeah, as a result, as you can see, we've now managed to get ourselves all of those Patrick socks at this rate. So even then, now let's go ahead and leave this entire world, and hopefully we're about to be do the next thing we're about to be focusing on. And that was the fact that we're about to be heading back onto the Bikini Bottom hub world, and then that way we could able to actually get some more, well, golden spatulas in between, as well as the forms of that particular sock that we need to able to actually just to grab some more. So speaking of these Patrick socks, actually, it's the fact that we're pretty much almost done in terms of trying to find every single Patrick socks in this game particularly, because either way, the next Patrick sock is going to be, you're going to have to hit that statue on this fountain, by the way, so that makes it a little bit more counterful and all that stuff. And there's also going to be another sock, I think it was actually going to be in, well, let's say in, in Krusty Krab, basically. So either way, though, we're able to actually, well, since we've already been there before, by simply able to defeat a lot of those enemies in between, but the only thing I have not able to actually accomplish is the fact that we haven't got Patrick sock in this particular area, or in this case, in this, for the sake of the forms of this popular restaurant or something. So yeah, because in this part is the fact that we need to clean up the mess, and if you do clean up the mess, then you would be able to be rewarded as in new forms of next Patrick sock. And I think this also same applies to take down some of those tikis, as you can see, but as for the most part, though, it's actually not too bad if you manage to able to figure out what you're supposed to able to figure this out. Again, I've said this before already, it's going to be a semi-blind playthrough as to be expected, but what if we move on to the next world until at some point on Friday? Oh man, it will be really dang confusing sometimes, especially noticeable if you have a first time, you know, playing a game. It doesn't matter if it's in the original game or a remake or something like that, but either way though, that's all I can really say about this for the most part, so, but I digress. So, again, there's not much else I can say, apart from the fact that, well, since we're getting really close towards the end of this game, basically. But as I said this before already, sadly this Let's Play will not be ended until specifically in either July or August, depending on what time that was. So, but even then, I'll let you guys know whenever that particular Let's Play will be finished for the sake of time. But even then, though, that's, don't worry though, we're actually getting very close towards the end, basically. Because of that, though, I'm actually really excited to able to actually go back into the remake of the game on the PlayStation 4, so that way I can get some more trophies in between in my PSN data, and even for playing it on the go for the Nintendo Switch version. So as a result, I still really managed to enjoy it, even if I managed to still got bored during the inside portion of the actual house at the sake of time, if we don't do anything at all. Thankfully, this game did manage to cheer me up a bit, because even then though, despite there are some retro, old-style knockback side of things, this game is actually really popular for most SpongeBob fans, especially for myself, because it actually contains a lot of like references from the forms of the previous SpongeBob episodes based off from season 1 to 3. So yeah, as a result of that kind of stuff though, still I usually prefer you know, season 1 all the way up to season 3 basically, because these are the only seasons I care the most, because, well, that's what I can say about it here. And the final sock in this particular hub world is that if you go over there, and if you hit that little trash bit right here, and that way you can get ourselves the final Patrick sock in Bikini Bottom. And by the way, that was actually a reference, by the way, by the forms of Sailor Mouth, when that particular episode is from. Basically, that episode is actually involved around that Patrick and SpongeBob accidentally come across into a little bit of a strong language during the forms of that particular trash bit. And as a result of that kinds of stuff, though, that's all I can really think about it. But then again, though, it has been such a very long time since I actually watched SpongeBob SquarePants, basically. So, anyways, let's go inside here, and oh, hello.
Flash! Authorities have confirmed that the robots running amok through Bikini Bottom are indeed coming from the chum bucket. Yes, right where you're standing. Plankton, owner of the chum bucket, and best known for the creation of robots whose sole purpose is to cause mayhem and destruction, has denied any involvement. And then stomp on your children! And stomp on your children's children! This has been a Bikini Bottom news flash.
So as you can see, we now ended up in the forms of in the chum bucket, but we're not actually going to be able to entering in here, because as you can see on this little door, we do need to acquire 75 of these golden spatulas in order to able to get in there. So as a result, the reason why we came in here is because of what else? Another golden spatula to obtain. So yeah, I think that's all I can think about it. And look at that, 64 of those are golden spatulas, which makes a little bit of a reference to, let's just say, Nintendo 64 for Super Mario 64 for another 3D collectathon kind of game. Which I will still say though, I've always been a big fan when it comes to 3D platformers, when it comes to like having some collectathons here and there as well. Sure, they might be pretty difficult to find for your first time playing through it, but when you get used to it though, it's actually not too bad when you get hang of it though. So anyways, let's exchange some more shiny objects for Mr. Krabs, and hopefully we should be able to grab some more off screen. So as I said this before, I don't feel like trying to show you guys some, you know, shiny objects grinding, but however though, I will able to do those off screen as I said before. So anyways, let's see what missions have we done. We've done all of the missions now in Bikini Bottom, but there's still some more missions in, specifically when you're trying to deal with the Mr. Krabs' selections of missions, as well as Patrick's socks returning exchange, and that way we can able to actually do it more often from here. Especially noticeable if we move on to the next 3 worlds we're about to be hit into in just any moment's notice, then we should be able to actually grab not only some more shiny objects along the way, but also, what else? Some more golden spatulas if we able to actually just collect them. So, yeah, I think we actually got about 67 of these golden spatulas right now. So I think we've only got about 33 left. So yeah, we're actually getting pretty close there, folks. We are actually getting very close. Specifically, if we're able to actually do the 100% completion like I was going to be doing, that way we can able to get the actual adjusted bits. So anyways though, for the sake of time, oh, there's another world right there. But even then, I will point it out until whenever we get into later. So there's SpongeBob's dream, and also we can able to actually have the ability to unlock the next 2 worlds, which one of them is Kelp Forest, in this case most people's least favorite world in the game, and also let's unlock this this particular level right here, which appears to be Flying Judgment's Graveyard. So at least we can able to unlock those. So I think we should probably end things off at this point right there. So join me next time on Let's Play SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. Here's the fact that we're going to be moving on to the next world in the game, Kelp Forest. So see you guys until on Friday. Later, fellas.